Well, I will tell you what I think. If you've been watching us meet every week or every other week and discuss this gives you quite a bit of context into everything we've seen. You said about a month or 2 months ago you've never seen the way they've clamped down on this from LAPD. Famously, you guys have had great sources there for years. We now know, based on the blast from the medical examiner, why that is, because the medical examiner is trying to, so people understand, the medical examiner is not an arm of the LAPD. The LAPD does have a lab. They do have a forensics division. That is not the medical examiner. The medical examiner is a standalone vertical area where they want to be professional. They want to do things in such a way that guys like me, the defense lawyer, don't get up there and say, you're only saying that because the detective came and he fed you A, B, C, D, or E and led you to believe and basically programmed you to get to a point where you would come to a conclusion that will fit with our investigation. This current medical examiner, instead of being pilloried by law enforcement, actually is doing what he should do. He's adhering to a scientific method, which is, I'm going to take in all the information and I'm going to come to a scientific conclusion, not the one that's preordained by law enforcement. So when he comes out and he says this should be transparent, he is absolutely right. And one of the reasons is that you're also getting, and Harvey, you've said this, so it didn't come to me, you've said that your source is saying you can't think logically. One of the problems here, not that I can't think logically, that we should not look at the case and the facts of the case when it all come out should not be, can't apply logic to all of.
Well, there's many times.
Welcome, Charles, to the podcast.
There's many times when I've said Harvey doesn't think logically.
Yes, I've seen definitely. So the part of the problem here is, in my opinion, LAPD wants a result and the medical examiner is pushing back against that. And rightfully so. The medical examiner is not there to just be the handmaiden for law enforcement. The medical examiner is there so that you don't have to, as a defense lawyer or somebody who has been accused of a crime, you have to go out and hire an independent pathologist to come in and actually give you what the real. So
decode this, because it seems like, to me at least, that maybe if there's a dogfight, it's that we are told the medical examiner may not be able to determine cause of death, and the LAPD wants them to say homicide.
Correct. I think that's number one. I think number two, you reported that the body was frozen. I know you have jumped to the conclusion that it was, or speculation that it was a freezer. I personally think, even though we've been cautioned against thinking logically, that if you're going to run with a theory, and a theory is people being triangulated in a location far away that's desolate outside of LA County, that it's more consistent with somebody who has disposed of a body and the body has somehow, because of the elements, frozen, and you are now bringing that body back somewhere else or digging the body back up. I know it's ghoulish, but obviously when you're investigating these cases, whether you're on the defense, the prosecution, or you're taking a look at the evidence, and what does the evidence suggest? And that, to me, is a working theory of what they are looking at. You, I think, reported, and what I'm being told is that there is water involved. Whether it's frozen or not frozen, water is connected to this body. And that is something they can't. We know in the documents it refers to her fingers being waterlogged, and they weren't able to get fingerprints because they were so waterlogged. So what I don't understand, Mark, is why this security hold that LAPD has. They got this court order so that none of the ME's findings can come out at this point. But what does that do? How does that help LAPD? The findings are what they are. As you said, the ME is applying scientific method. He's going to come up, his office is going to come up with results, whatever they are, or maybe they can't come up with a result. That doesn't change. Why does LAPD need a security hold to stop that from coming out?
I'm going to guess, once again, wild speculation. I know the judge who is apparently signed this order.
Richmond.
Craig Richmond. I've known him since he was a DA. I've tried cases since he's been a judge in his courtroom, jury trials in his courtroom. He's a very ex-prosecutor, as I said, very by the book. If they came to him initially and he rejected it, it was because he didn't buy whatever it was they were selling. If they shopped it to him, he was not the first judge, but the second judge, and they disclosed to him that some other judge had rejected it, he would have held their feet to the fire. And he's an incredibly, this is a guy who was doing high-level murder prosecutions when he was a DA. He would when I say hold their feet to fire, he's not going to issue a security hold just because LAPD says the ME is leaking. There has to be a basis upon which they are claiming to the judge, our investigation is being compromised by the leaks coming out of the coroner's office. That is it. There is no other compelling reason that I can think of, or at least one compelling reason that I can think of, that he would sign an order telling another agency head, I'm issuing a security hold and you can't talk.
So wait, so you're saying that they're making an assumption, at least with us, that our sources are not coming from LAPD, but are coming from the ME?
Correct. That's exactly what they're doing.
That's total speculation on their part.
Well, I haven't seen it. I'm going to tell you, based on doing this longer than Charles has been alive, that there is understand the kind of what you are navigating here if you're the LAPD going in to get this order. There are public accountability and transparency issues. There are free speech issues. There are other prior restraint issues. So they can try to dress up the order or the request in all kinds of other ways. But the only way that navigates all of those concerns and is constitutionally proper is if they allege compromising the investigation. And
Mark, I have been around a long, long time covering LAPD, and I have never seen a case. In fact, to me, the best example that news reports don't compromise a case is O.J. Simpson. That there was evidence that when I was at KCBS in Los Angeles, we were reporting 2 days later that there was blood going from the bodies of Ron and Nicole at Nicole's house into O.J.'s bedroom and bathroom, and yet he was found not guilty. So the idea that leaks could change the outcome of a case, to me, is preposterous. We're going to get sidetracked for a second. I'll get on my soapbox there. I have evolved, and I admit I used to be very anti this idea of kind of a free, transparent, robust discussion pre-trial and during trial. I used to argue about the Contempt of Court Act out of England and stuff like that. I think you're right in this sense. I can't tell you the number of times in high-profile cases where there is a robust, transparent discussion in the media that there has been exculpatory evidence that has come about that we never would have learned if it had been done under cover of night. Frankly, I think it's one of the reasons that now prosecutors are always trying to muzzle the defense and tamp down any kind of publicity or gag orders, because they understand that if you start getting all kinds of robust citizen involvement, it's a very dangerous thing to whatever prosecutorial theory they have. And so I welcome it now. I really think it's a great way for the people to understand what's happening in the system, number one. But number two, look at what the ME wrote. I mean, we kind of glossed over that. And I know it's great in this day and age to say war over the death investigation. That ME, and which you should give him a shout out by name, has written a very thoughtful analysis of what his job is, what the public trust is, and has said, I'm going to stand my ground. That's a very tough position given the symbiotic relationship historically that the ME's office has with law enforcement.
Yeah, I never seen anything like it. I never said. I can't think I would say Thomas Noguchi maybe, but Thomas. Well, we're even aging ourselves here, so let's not get into Noguchi. Yeah, you can't afford to do that. You can't afford to age yourself either. You guys, I love Charles is a great foiled on the podcast. I'll tell you. So, Mark, you're saying that you now think that you're on the side of the ME, saying let's be transparent about these things. But to be fair, you're looking at it from the angle of a defense attorney. The prosecutors obviously don't want it all out there. I'm trying to figure out what would be the danger to their investigation, that their suspect or suspects that they have are going to learn what it is they're looking at. I mean, what I just don't know, if the ME came out and said, here's what happened, that her body was partially frozen, we can't, for whatever reason, we can't get fingerprints, we can't determine manner or cause of death, how does that hurt LAPD with their case with their suspects? I still can't figure that part out.
They're gonna say that if there is information about the cause of death or the manner or the circumstances surrounding it, that those kinds of that information coming out is then going to cause the purported suspects to destroy evidence or to flee. They always default to flight risk, always default to destruction of evidence. Those are going to be the kind of things that they red flag up. The problem with that is, it's happened already this week. Even people who watched Harvey and I on the podcast, I get calls, I get leads. I'm sure you guys get the same thing where people say, wait a second, I now saw something here, there, or whatever. If there is no reporting on this, if what they had started off doing and Harvey, I forget the date when you said it, you were on tape saying, I've never seen the kind of clamping down of sources in an investigation. That was weeks, if not months ago. This case may actually, in some ways, have been delayed by virtue of that, as opposed to making progression. Remember,
And you know the weird thing, though, Mark? It's like that was so true up until like a week and a half ago, and then the floodgates just opened, and I'm not sure what happened. I don't know what that was. Something happened. The court order, I think it was. It might have been the court order. I think it was. I mean, talk about the law of unintended consequences, right?